The Baltimore Ravens have a history of making really good draft time decisions and have a really good habit of letting really good players fall right into their laps. And we saw this a couple years ago with people like Patrick Queen, and we saw this again this year twice with Kyle Hamilton and David Ojabo in the second round. And today we'll look at Kyle Hamilton because they managed to get him at 14 without having to trade at all. And truly, they got the best safety in the entire NFL draft. So what are they going to do with Kyle Hamilton? What makes him so good? And how are they going to be able to utilize him in such a Baltimore Ravens way that he's going to be one of the greatest picks in the entire NFL draft, despite being considered a low positional value safety and falling down draft boards a little bit right before the season? So let's get into it. I hope you enjoy. What's up, guys? I'm Tyler Coker, and I'm your host for today's episode of Today with Tyler. I hope you enjoy. We will start with Hamilton's zone coverage, since most safeties are expected to be able to drop deep. The deep safety shell isn't Hamilton's most comfortable spot on the field, and he isn't the type of athlete to be an elite free safety or even closer to someone like Earl Thomas. He only lined up as a deep safety 26% of the time last year, and that included many snaps in which he fell from a deep zone look into a man responsibility closer to the line. When he is deep, though, Hamilton can be instinctive and is very athletic, and is able to cross the field quickly to close in on the intended receiver. The most important function for Hamilton deep, however, is his versatility. He can fall from his deep zone to be a robber, which will confuse slower quarterbacks and offers a variety of different looks for a defense. Ultimately, I do not really envision him to be in the deep zone coverage a lot for Hamilton, which I will explain after looking at other aspects of his game, but truly, he's not going to need to be one with Marcus Williams there to be the free safety in Baltimore. Now, let's quickly look at his abilities as a box defender. Hamilton took 4 snaps on the defensive line and 87 in the box as a linebacker in 2021. When in the box, he can be left as a true outside linebacker and contain running plays, and he's strong enough and capable enough to tackle individually. He can also be kept on the field in a heavy personnel and stand in the box as an extra player on the second level, which will be important in such a heavy division as the AFC North, especially for the heavier teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hamilton's abilities in the box don't end at those 91 snaps, though. Kyle Hamilton often blitzes out of the slot, putting him essentially as a free box defender or a pass rusher. He has enough power to slam running backs in pass protection, which would be his primary matchup in the NFL, and he will face many of the smaller backs on third down, which is the blitz-heavy down. He is insanely quick to the pocket, using that speed to turn into power. He is not a tunnel vision runner, though, and he still understands his responsibility to block the hot pass in the spot that he's leaving vacant, which is very beneficial as a free blitzer. When in the slot, which was Hamilton's primary alignment at 52% of his snaps, and he often fell into a slot assignment out of the other positions as well, Hamilton offers the most value to Baltimore. When manning in the slot, Hamilton is plenty fast enough to keep up with most of his assignments despite the deep threats. That being said, Hamilton is not a freak of nature in terms of speed, and while his 40 time is definitely misleading since he almost ran a 5, he still isn't an elite speed threat and won't be able to keep up with someone like Tyreek Hill, for example. Due to necessity, Hamilton has learned how to cover speedy slot receivers by keeping his feet in contact with the turf at almost all times, staying ready for a quick cut into a completely different route. He also has learned to use press coverage to keep those deep threats at bay, overpowering smaller players. He also has the physicality to fight tight ends, which is crucial to the play strength of a nickelbacker, which is Hamilton's most likely landing spot in any defense. When given a man assignment, Hamilton can track players across the field to make tremendous plays, which is what made him a first-round prospect, his ball skills. Even when he's trailing in coverage, Hamilton has the recovery speed to still cut off balls before contact with the receiver, an elite trait that the Ravens are going to have to utilize greatly. Speaking of utilization, let's look a little bit at what we're going to see from him coming in. So looking at their depth chart, I was a little bit confused when Hamilton was drafted at 14 by the Ravens. First, it was a very typical Ravens pick in that they got an amazing player at a very good value, but how are they going to really utilize him, seeing as they stole the best free safety off the market in Marcus Williams, which was to my dismay as a Redskins fan, and they had Chuck Clark at strong safety, who isn't bad in his own right. So what are they really going to do with him? And they have Marcus Peters on the outside as long as Marlon Humphrey, so it wasn't like they were going to try to make him an outside corner or anything. And then they also signed Kyle Fuller at corner depth, so I was very confused as to what it was at first. But then, looking a little bit more at his snap count and looking at his tape, it becomes very clear that the Ravens are going to be keeping Hamilton in the slot. He's going to be a slot receiver, or a slot defender, and he's going to be able to eliminate slot receivers from the game entirely. They're going to use him so that way he can defend against the run as an outside defender, but he's also going to be able to, of course, cover those quick guys who are going to be running around in the slot. He's going to be very important because he can take care of his coverage responsibilities, but can also tackle very well. So I look forward to seeing what he's going to do. Hamilton is probably the best fit for the Ravens that they could have possibly imagined, because he can take care of those outside tackles and still kind of be a strong safety in a sense and be a perfect nickelbacker, but he can still cover as well. And so while they aren't looking for a deep safety, and they're not really looking for a perfect strong safety either, they're looking for a nickel defender, and that's exactly what they got in Kyle Hamilton. I'm really surprised that they were able to find such a perfect fit, but when you watch Kyle Hamilton's tape, it's not really a surprise. I have really high hopes for Kyle Hamilton when he's on the Baltimore Ravens. I think that while he won't win Defensive Player of the Year, because realistically you have to be in a high value, high flash position in order to do something like that, and Kyle Hamilton's job will be a little bit more under the radar, I see a very Nate Hobbs type of season from him. One in which he's one of the most slept on and underrated rookies in the entire NFL, and he has one of the best seasons in the entire NFL in his position at slot corner. So while we might see a little bit of movement with him, I do think we're going to see a lot of slot for Kyle Hamilton, and I think he's going to do very well there. Obviously, only time will tell how dominant he will be, and hopefully he really is a next level defender. I hope you enjoy, and have a happy 4th of July, guys. I know this is coming out on the 4th of July, so you might be seeing it after, but hope you guys enjoyed your barbecues and fireworks shows and all that, and can't wait until we get the great American game of football back in our lives. Thank you. I'll see you next week.